Norway Connection. Luckily for Oppenheimer, he was not in the fight alone. One of his most valuable allies would be a man he didn't know and would never meet, a 29-year-old Norwegian named Knut Haklid. Haklid had a dark, wavy hair and a broad, muscular body, toughened by years of hiking and skiing. When the Germans conquered Norway in 1940, Haklid and a few friends had refused to admit defeat. They strapped guns to their backs and skied deep into the roadless forest and mountains. There was only one thought in our heads, he later said. Hitler and his gang should be thrown back into the sea. While crossing a lake on a ferry boat, they found an outlet for their rage. Standing on deck, leaning casually on the rail, was a Norwegian man in a Nazi uniform. Some Norwegians were Nazi sympathizers who aided in invading the army. After waiting until the boat was about 300 yards from shore, Haklid gestured for his friends to follow. He walked up to the Nazi. "Heil Hitler," Haklid said, using the typical Nazi greeting. "Heil Hitler," the man said, reaching out to shake hands. As Haklid grasped the man's hand, his friends grabbed the Nazi, lifted him over the rail, and dropped him into the lake. The only thing that floated was his hat. Over the following year, Knut Haklid found a more organized and effective way to fight the Germans. He joined one of the secret resistance groups that were forming all over Norway. He began working as a radio operator and spy. No one, not even those nearest to us, could know what was going on, he said. Anyone caught resisting the German occupation was instantly shot. In the daytime, we had to do our ordinary work, he explained. We were dropping with fatigue. What kept us going was a growing pride in doing something, little as it was, against the hated invaders. Day by day, Haklid worked at a German-controlled submarine base. After dark, he gathered his radio equipment, snuck out of town on a bicycle, and searched for a remote electrical pole. He climbed the wooden pole, tapped into the electrical wires, powered up his radio, and sent information on German military movements to British intelligence officers in London. We had many wild plans in those days, Haklid remembers. Hoping to deal the Nazis a more direct blow, he and his friends concocted a plot to kidnap Vidkun Quisling, leader of the Norwegian Nazis. The plan was to knock Quisling unconscious, drive him into the mountains, call Britain for a plane, fly him to London, and put him on display in a cage. Haklid found out where Quisling was staying in Oslo. He rented a room across the hall, contacted a fellow resistance fighter who worked for the telephone company, and arranged to listen in on Quisling's phone line. The plan was to find out when he ordered a car, Haklid said, so that we could pick him up in one of ours. Haklid's men dressed in stolen Nazi uniforms so Quisling wouldn't be suspicious until it was too late. But before they could pull the trigger on the operation, German intelligence uncovered Haklid's crew of radio operators. Some of the men were thrown into concentration camps. Haklid escaped into the mountains. He managed to get across the border to Sweden by bicycle and traveled from there by plane to Great Britain. Haklid was safe, but all he could think about was getting back home to continue the fight. He would get his wish and more. What Haklid did not know was that a remote factory perched onto the side of a cliff in Norway was key to Germany's top-secret atom bomb project. Someone had to put that factory out of operation, and he was about to get the job. Back in Norway, Hitler's secret police force, the Gestapo, got Haklid's name and stormed his family house. They ransacked the place for evidence of its undercover work. A Gestapo officer cornered his mother demanding information. She wouldn't talk. A furious S.W. Femer, chief of the Gestapo intelligence in Norway, stepped forward and ordered her to tell him where Haklid had gone. "He is in the mountains," she responded. "No," shouted Femer. "He is in Britain. Our contact in Sweden tells us that he has been taken across the North Sea in a fighter plane. And what do you think he's doing there?" Haklid's mother had no idea, but she knew her son. She suspected it would be something big. Staring Femer straight in the eyes, she said, "You will find out when he comes back."